what's going to happen on crude, what's going to happen on fertilizer inputs. What are your thoughts with, the Strait of Hormuz and what's going on?
The disruptions have not impacted India as much as they have impacted some other countries. We have enough reserves and enough ability to cope for some time.
Someone who defines herself as a game changer, someone who is a giver, not a taker. It's Gauri Kumar. Thank you so very much for being on Let's Chat with GB. Chief Minister Modi at the time, what was he like in the early days, and what did you find, when you were interacting with him?
An outstanding visionary who knew his officers. He knew their strengths. He knew their weaknesses.
Tell us about NIFT.
We have a lot of eminent alumni. I invited them to tell us what they would like us to do differently, if anything. And then in the faculty conclave, it came out that we wanted it to become a more academically rigorous course. So we started the process of a 4-year program.
What is India's biggest strength right now?
It's energy, it's creativity, the pace of transformation in certain things that we have brought in.
Today we have someone who defines herself as a game changer, someone who is a giver, not a taker, someone who started out by winning 7 gold medals in Lucknow University, went from mathematics to fashion, worked with the Prime Minister when he was actually the Chief Minister, and so much more, is making her debut on her first podcast ever. Ms. Gauri Kumar, thank you so very much for being on Let's Chat with GB.
An honor, Gaurav.
So thank you, of course, for being here. And for our audience, how would you really define yourself and how have you really stood out in your career? Let's let them know about that first up.
Difficult question. I think you should answer that. But I would say somebody who has an audacious vision for large public good.
Right.
And who has a track record of converting that vision to execution, making teams, giving credit to teams, being a giver. And कारवां बनता जाता है, अकेले चलिए आप जानवे मंजिल और कारवां बनता जाता है. That's what I'll say. And very interestingly, the officers who work with me are always feel very persecuted when they're with me because I'm a really, really hard taskmaster.
Okay.
After they have left, then they call me up and say, Madam, उन दिनों की बड़ी याद आ रही है. So I would say, उस वक्त तो तुम इतना persecuted feel करते थे, अब क्यों याद आ रही है?
Right.
What we achieved during that period was such an audacious, nobody thought it possible to do it in government. Doing things in government is more difficult than doing things outside, Gaurav.
So true.
So that's who I am. And like you said, you have to be a giver. You have to have integrity with performance.
So true.
And that's a very difficult combination to have. You have to be a good administrator. You have to be good at finance. You have to be good at establishment matters.
Right.
You have to be good academic.
Right.
Because if you don't have the academic rigor
Right.
Or the attitude of learning and unlearning all the time, you're not a good leader.
I love how you said, the academic aspect is so important. And of course, from your, past, you've had Lucknow University, where you had 7 gold medals. You've had Harvard as well, as part of your resume. Tell us about your education journey and, where did it really, start? What was, the inclination towards math? Because I know that's where you started. And from math, you eventually did, transform the world of fashion. And we'll talk about that later as well. But let's talk about your early journey and, how did the academic aspect play such a big role in your life?
I did my graduation from Allahabad University.
Right.
So in BSc, we had a modern mathematics professor. And he said, how do you define zero? A wonderful gentleman, Sharma ji karke hote the.
Mm-hmm.
He's no more. And that's when I realized that I had a passion for mathematics because I could spontaneously do well there.
Right.
And then I pursued in Lucknow. I think, हम लोग की जो Indian education है ना, वो बहुत ground करती है आपको, बहुत basics बहुत strong सिखाती है.
Correct.
A lot of people say that rote है. Yeah, rote है. But at some level, it opens your mind to possibilities.
Sure.
And I would say Harvard was... opens your mind to various possibilities. It makes you learn that life is not black or white. It's a lot of gray.
Right.
And you need to learn to navigate that gray. I think that lesson and a sense of humility came from Harvard. because you meet such great people and you realize you know nothing. You've done nothing. And they would say, "Arey, aap log to Hindustan mein itna badhiya kaam kar rahe hain." But, that will also give you the sense that they're comfortable, giving you credit and showing a sense of humility and your aptitude to do things. It was very interesting, very interesting. In leadership, neither an autocratic leadership is very good or a participative. So in the same class, it would be a joint class. They would show both the types of leaderships. One is a psychiatrist, and the other is a nun from Vatican. And they would jointly talk in the same class about two styles of leadership, just to tell you that neither is right. You have to discover, your own style of leadership, and you have to use it contextually.
And also, I guess, situational leadership, because, different situations demand a different type of leader to step up. And I'm sure a lot of, your lessons came on that over there as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because what is relevant when you are young as an officer in the field, and when you are mature at the state, heading the state secretariat,
right,
or in the government of India,
right,
the challenges of the leadership are very different.
Yeah.
And so your response has to be, you have to, in our service, interestingly, we move across departments, across positions, from the field, from a municipal corporation, various positions.
Correct.
And your leadership style has to adjust. You have to learn, unlearn. You have to listen in. People have to know that you are listening, and you are listening intently.
Correct.
And learning intently and unlearning. Now, I think that leadership also evokes other people to follow the same model.
Very true.
If you're committed, if you're working hard, you have to, fundamentally, you have to be willing to put in hard work, which many of us don't want to do. So, yes, there was a lot of learning.
And then, of course, 1979 is when you join, the IAS. And when did the move to Gujarat happen? Was that straight away, or did that move happen after some time?
No, it was, I think within a year we get our cadre allotment.
Right.
And, when we join in the academy, we are all like straight out of college. You have not done anything. You have a lot of idealism.
Right.
At that young age. In our case, it used to be. In 79, it used to be. That we were mostly out of college, full of idealism, full of we'll do this, we can do this, And in the training, I would say, is also very, very good training that we got. We also used to be sent to the field. In the field, we were supposed to start as tehsildars. So, you would have attachment where you'll function independently for 1 week as a tehsildar. So I would say the format of training was very good.
Very good. Very robust. Yeah. And of course, the Gujarat cadre is, spoken by highly of. In fact, for our viewers, I met Ms. Gauri when we were actually at ET Summit in Bombay a few weeks ago, and we were sharing the same stage. And the gentleman sitting next to me, was from the NIFT, and he mentioned, he said, "Aap jante hain, ye Gujarat cadre se the." So, so the Gujarat cadre has, a lot of respect. And I think what you all have done at that time, and the Gujarat that we see of today, and of course, powering the Indian economy and our engine, I think a lot of it was thanks to the work that you all did on the ground back then.
The Gujarat public is very well aware of its rights. You would recall how Gujarat has been the trendsetter in taking up any cause which they believe in and they believe powerfully in. So I would give a lot of credit to the Gujarat population for being very aware of their rights.
Right.
So, interestingly, we were posted in Bhavnagar. My husband was district magistrate and I was municipal commissioner.
Right.
And people would say, public servant, आप तो हमारे servant हैं. वो रात को 10 बजे फोन करेंगे. I used to stay in the collector bungalow.
Right.
रात को 10 बजे फोन करेंगे घर पे. मारू gutter उभराई छे. My gutter is overflowing. And I would feel so delighted that any citizen feels empowered to be able to call the municipal commissioner at 10 o'clock at night to say, my gutter is overflowing. So, that's a very demanding public.
Right.
I'm saying demanding, but at the same time, very appreciative. If you do good work and if you do genuine work, they will remember you for ages. So that's a kind of kind of citizenry that we have there.
And like you mentioned, getting a call at 10 p.m. at night, it's unheard of, right? Never going to happen in, let's say, some of the other states in the country. So I think that's a unique situation as well.
Yeah.
And 1991, I think it was 25th July when, Manmohan Singh, the finance minister at that time, delivers a budget. And, India has never been the same. Of course, I was still in school at the time. But a watershed moment. And you, at the time, are playing a key role in a key state.
Yeah.
What was that really like at that time?
In 91, I was in the Ministry of Finance in Government of India. I had just come to Government of India.
Right.
And it was very interesting that we used to have conversations, very open conversations,
Right.
on what we are doing right, there was a sense of openness in conversations.
Right.
And he was a very good finance minister.
Right.
And he encouraged, we were deputy secretaries at that time, but we would have a straight briefing from deputy secretary. We would be briefing the finance minister for parliament questions. And we would even be in meetings, we would be encouraged to give suggestions and to question what we were doing. So
Right.
I think that was that was the openness. It was not just that the economy opened; the conversations also opened to self-assessment.
Right.
So very interesting times. Yes.
And prior to that, I mean, we were in a really bad situation as a country, right? I mean, when they were talking about, selling our gold reserves and everything else, we were in a mess prior, right?
Yeah. So, this is the beauty of India, that when we faced against a wall, we all work together.
Right.
And we come up with innovative solutions. And that's again something which I would say in Gujarat. You come up with creative, innovative solutions. You find you're not focused, you're not problem focused. A lot of people are focused on problems. In Gujarat, we are solution focused. We are trained to be solution focused.
Yeah.
So, if you have a problem, you could say, oh, I have a problem. Here we would say, okay, if we can't go around like this for a solution, can we go around like this?
Yeah.
Now, that is something which we are trained to do in Gujarat.
So true. So true. No, you're right. And, what do people get paid more for? Is it for, identifying problems or finding the solutions? It's definitely the solutions. And I think you're right. I think that really is a strength, of the Gujarati population, and for sure. And so let's talk about now a few years, down. 1995, and now you have a change of government that's happened in Gujarat as well. I think that's probably the first time Keshubhai Patel probably won Gujarat. And what was that change like when you had a change of government over there, and how did that really play out?
So I actually came back to the cadre I was at Harvard for a year.
Right.
And then I reverted to the cadre,
Right.
and Keshubhai Patel was there.
Right.
And people said you were very fortunate to have joined at a time when you can be yourself, because my reputation is so well known, the kind of officer that I am. Straight talking, etc., visionary. I said, audacious vision.
Right.
So a lot of people said that you've come just at the right time to Gujarat, because the previous years were difficult years for officers who were forthright, who were committed, who were dedicated to the job.
Right. Right.
So Keshubhai was a farmer. Interesting. So he wanted to have an agro vision. So he really, for a farmer, he really was fairly visionary.
Right. Right.
And I had accompanied him to US we used to have road shows.
Right.
And I accompanied him to US. And I was in charge for the Pennsylvania segment. And in Pennsylvania, there was the lieutenant governor, a very, very fine gentleman. I can never forget him. He later became, I believe, the governor there. And so I had to go as an advance party. So I went there, and he came to the airport to receive me with roses, red roses, And Keshubhai was coming after 2 days.
Right.
And then he had gone, he was Republican. I forget what he was. He had gone for primaries. So he said, I'll come directly to the airport. So I asked his associates, I said, do you have a bouquet for the CM? They said, no, we don't have. So I said, why don't you pick up these roses and repackage them? And, the LG can offer them to the CM.
Right.
So we repackaged, and we took it to the airport. And he had one look at it. He said, Gauri, these are your roses. They cannot be given to anybody else.
Really?
So it's very interesting time. And then later he came we organized an agro vision in 2000
Right.
in Gujarat.
Right.
And he brought 20 industrialists from there. He brought them to Gujarat to participate in that.
Wow.
And for the first time, we announced an agro-industrial policy, which was the first in the country by any state or national government. And we used to have a lot of industrial policies,
Right.
but never an agro-industrial policy.
Right.
And unless you go for value addition, agriculture
Right.
cannot give you a return on investment, cannot be good. So anyway, so those were the days, yeah.
Gujarat in the late 90s now, Prime Minister Modi, who at the time is going to be Chief Minister Modi, is taking over, and you worked very closely, with him. Tell us and our audience about, Chief Minister Modi at the time. What was he like in the early days, and what did you find, when you were interacting with him? Because you did spend a lot of time with him in the early days.
An outstanding visionary who knew his officers. He knew their strengths. He knew their weaknesses. Great strategist. I would say, he would position officers who he had tried, tested, and trusted
Right.
in strategic positions. Many people do that.
Right.
Many people do that. You have to know the officers, you have to position them.
Right.
I would say maybe many chief ministers do. But what he did differently.
Yeah.
And that makes it so refreshingly different and unique.
Right.
Is the fact that he empowered you.
So true.
That he let it be known. How he did it is I haven't figured out. But the system, the word went into the system that I trust this officer. And the officer is given very clear targets. Those targets are not small targets. The targets are visionary targets again, which he believed that officer may be able to deliver,
Correct.
which others may not have been able to deliver.
Right.
And then he empowers the officer to deliver those targets.
Nice.
I would say this is an extremely powerful governance model for any leadership to follow anytime, anywhere, cutting across themes.
Right. And I love how you mentioned that, he would empower, and of course the visionary aspect. And we were talking about, certain things that have come to life after, like we were talking about Dholera, for example. These are things that have been envisioned, decades before they've actually seen the light of day, etc.
Yeah. So, when can an officer who's visionary also perform? When he or she knows that she enjoys the trust of the leadership.
Right.
So we used to have these industrial estates, then we used to have SEZs. We envisioned a special investment region, which would be much bigger than any of these, which would actually have all the facilities, and to be able to convert a vision into reality. And that's where I talk of the leadership.
Right.
The leadership emboldening, empowering, and also enabling.
Yeah.
So we actually set up an SIR Act.
Wow.
Which actually provides the contours for development. It provides a vision, it provides a strategy, a broad strategy, how you would execute it. I can't cite many examples from across the country where such visionary leadership exists, and it empowers and enables the bureaucracy. It was a great time. I mean, I would say we did some things which were totally out of the ordinary. We could execute it only because he empowered us.
Right.
He conveyed his trust to the system.
Right. And he's, all said and done, a workaholic, right? He puts in more hours than, a lot of people, around him. And even, we hear even today, the people say, Are, Modi ji to sote nahi hai. He's always, awake, very, on the game. Was it always like that? Was he always, so hands-on and, participative in all the initiatives and conversations?
See, the leader, hard work is one of the very critical criteria for a leader, because what you are, others take a cue from there.
So true.
So the officers that he would select would also be self-driven,
Right.
would be hardworking. Their integrity would be top-notch. Their track record of delivery would be fine, very high order.
Right.
And such officers enjoy working with a leader who himself is hardworking and who himself is a visionary.
Right.
Because you won't see such empowerment anywhere else.
Right.
If the leader was not hardworking, he can never appreciate the importance of hard work. Karmi yogi,
Bilkul.
the shibir that we used to have,
Right.
I think symbolized the expectations from government, and which also reflects the expectations of the population.
Yeah.
From any government anywhere, any bureaucracy anywhere. So it was a pleasure and a privilege and a delight, and a very satisfying experience. The Karmayogi shibirs that we used to have, where all the ministers, all the senior bureaucrats would go for 2 days. It's out of the world experience. The Kanya Kirwadi Mahotsav that we used to do. At the time of admissions, we used to do Kanya Kirwani Mahotsav, where all secretaries, all ministers would go to village schools,
Right.
and spend 2 days, each day visiting some 5 schools. I recall going to those schools was a lesson in itself. Kids there would be doing yoga. They would be dressing up. It gave them an occasion to showcase their capabilities, and for
Love
the
it.
teachers. Teachers felt motivated to do things which were out of the ordinary. And then they will also get a chance to relate with your experiences, to get motivated by what you have done, how you have become an IAS officer, for example.
Correct.
So I would say these were visionary, strategic approaches to convert a scheme or a program to a movement and to a revolution. मैं बहुत कायल हूँ इस बात की, और मैंने बहुत सीखा है. The way you try to pick on the requirement. A requirement can be a scheme, it can be a program.
Right.
To make it into a movement, to make it into a revolution. I'm not saying that things change overnight, but you have at least made a beginning where the government becomes more conscious. I'm not saying that the change would happen overnight in the population, that the literacy rate would suddenly shoot up.
Correct.
And, I'm not saying that. But I'm saying that everybody in the government becomes more conscious of their duties and of the expectations from them. So in that sense, I found it very innovative, very creative, very powerful instrument of governance.
I think key things, of course, you mentioned, the visionary aspect, but again, the empowerment and integrity. I think these are, key words that, come to mind and is necessary for any, organizations, even country to really scale. So I think I totally agree. It must really be very satisfying and gratifying for you when you look at, areas in Gujarat today, where again the seeds were sown in 2009 when the Nano moved, from Singur to, Sanand in Gujarat. And today, when you look at it as an automotive hub where there's just so much happening, must be very gratifying for you because you played an important role at that time as well. It's
really good that we had the kind of leadership support at that time. Because without leadership support, you can't do any of these things.
Right.
We were in conversation with the Tata Motors for 2 months before it closed.
Right.
And we were doing it very secretly. But everybody gets to know. So the journalists would ask, "Ki Ravi Kant ji se aapki meeting kab ho rahi hai?" But it's at the end of the day, it's a leadership which helps you close these things. There are so many things one can look back upon and feel gratified that one was there at the right time to do the job.
Right.
So even getting Japan as a partner country for Vibrant Gujarat 2009.
So true.
For the first time, Japan came at the subnational level. Nobody thought it possible. Again, that audaciousness of the leadership also.
Right.
Of the leadership also.
Right.
So we worked very quietly with Japan. We didn't make noise. We didn't get anybody to work for us. We just went to them and said, we are professionals, we are thorough professionals. And we were also in DMIC, Delhi-Mumbai Industrial Corridor.
Right.
64%, I think, is in Gujarat. So,
Yeah.
that helped also.
Right.
So, yeah.
And the high-speed trains, so much of that is with Japanese partnership as well. So I think even 2009, Vibrant Gujarat, again, for which you had a big role to play along with your team, I think, again, that's set the seeds for, where we are today on so many, initiatives there as well.
Yeah, as I always say, it's a team which makes it. So it is the team really which gets the credit and the leadership. We are just in between.
And you're someone who's not been, putting yourself anywhere. I mean, there's so many times when you would ask to put your name on an award or, at least a nomination. And even there you said, no, let's put it as a team. And so you've always been kind of, taking a back seat on that side.
I believe that bureaucrats should be self-effacing. That's my very firm belief.
Right.
If we come in the limelight, then we get addicted to the limelight. So we work not for the public cause. We start working for the limelight. So I genuinely believe that we should be self-effacing. And the most effective way of public interest is where you have a self-effacing, honest bureaucrat who's committed to the outcomes rather than to his or her own agenda. It becomes our own agenda then.
Right. Yeah, I would agree. Let's go a little further now. And we're talking about now moving into the world of fashion from mathematics. It's 2002, and you're now going to be, stepping in and taking over at NIFT, an institution that has created, epic, designers and, put India on the fashion map, of the world, which at the time was more of an organization that was, or an institute that was kind of a page 3 thing, but then you changed everything. Tell us about NIFT.
It's a very interesting journey. I used to be Secretary Higher and Technical Education in Gujarat, and we actually also did a private university bill there. And then they said that you keep telling VCs all of this, why don't you come here and do something? Mm-hmm. So somebody designed on his part and accident on my part, I landed up as DG NIFT. The admission session was on at that time, and these are kids who have just done their 12th.
Correct.
I thought we were making the same mistake which JEE makes all the time, which I would say even UPSC to some extent is conscious and correcting. And I always used to fight with JEE when I was in education that you want ready engineers. You're not looking for potential engineers because you don't know how to find that potential.
Right.
It is your failing. It is not the systemic failing. And even today, why is it that people get into JEE in the 4th or the 5th round? Why is it that people get, crack the UPSC exam in the 4th or the 5th round?
Correct.
I think it's fundamentally, it's
flawed,
fundamentally not acceptable. So it was very interesting. When I went there, interviews were on. 12वीं के बच्चे को, लड़के को, लड़की को, आप इंटरव्यू में बुला रहे हो. Very interesting that interviewers repeatedly everywhere bring in their biases into the interview process.
Okay.
Very unfortunate. Very unfortunate. So if you see a smart girl walking in, speaking fluent English, you get floored.
This is a great candidate.
You get floored. And I've seen it across, Gaurav, I've seen it across organizations, the weakness. I would call it the weakness of the system. That अगर कोई हिंदी में बोल रहा है, हाँ? और मैं बहुत बार मिक्स्ड बोलती हूँ, इंग्लिश भी हिंदी भी. To tell people that just because you're not walking in very smartly doesn't mean that you don't have it in you. And this whole industry that we have created of coaching, so disastrous. And we have created it. The industry is surviving because of us. It is thriving because of us.
Yeah.
Because we are not changing the way we are doing the examination system.
Right.
I didn't know all of this at that time when I went to NIFT, frankly.
Right.
But I sat with some very eminent designers who were in the interview panel, very, very eminent. And I sat, they invited me to, sit on in their panel for some time. And I thought it was so wrong to interview a child who has just done the 12th and is coming for an interview, to ask him questions. What would you ask him? What would you ask a future designer or a future technology person? So I took my lessons from there. And you talked of consultative. Leadership has to be consultative.
Yep.
So then we set up a faculty conclave, invited a lot of eminent alumni. We have a lot of eminent alumni.
You mentioned some names were like the Raghavendra Rathors and the Satyapals and Ritu Kumars. Some big names.
Yeah, big names. And Manish Malhotra.
Of course.
So we invited them. I invited them to tell us what they would like us to do differently, if anything.
Right.
Some of them conveyed that we entered as a designer, we exited as a designer.
Okay.
You can't not have a 360-degree understanding of the environment that the business environment that you'll be working in.
Right.
And then in the faculty conclave, it came out that we wanted it to become a more academically rigorous course rather than a page 3 course, 3-year program at the end of 12th. You don't even give a degree. How do they go even abroad?
So it's just a diploma course prior.
It was a kind of a diploma course. So we started the process of a 4-year program. I think it was a very interesting journey for us. And once we had, restructured the programs, it was so easy for me to talk to the best of the universities who wouldn't touch us with a barge pole. Chelsea College, oh my God. So the University of London, I'm not talking of Chelsea College, mind you, I'm talking the University of London now. Because I believe we have a rigorous academic program.
Right.
So we talked to the University of London. They came down, Leeds University, a very eminent university, 35 universities, Australia, US, UK. We signed up faculty and student exchange programs with these universities sitting there. And by the time we had structured it, we were strong. People had heard about us by that time, what we were doing in the system. And Honorable President, we had not yet become, through an act of parliament, Honorable President agreed to grace our convocation. And Dr. Abdul Kalam, and he came and he sat with the students. That's the kind of person he was. So it was wonderful. And we were working very closely with the industry. So I went and met Mr. Biani. At that time, used to run Futures.
Right.
And he came for the first time. We did an on-campus recruitment.
I believe he picked up 50 people.
He
at Future
picked up
Group.
50 people for his overseas operations. For the first time, this is the first time that our graduates are graduating and they are being, campus recruitments for the first time happening there. Before that, we did something very wonderful again. We did something called DSYN, Design Synectics Noetics.
Okay. What would that be exactly?
This term was coined by one of the students. We were doing something, where we worked with the textile industry to give us, to make the textile according to our requirement. Designers would design it and the marketing people would market it. So everybody came together, the same theme
ecosystem, right?
The entire theme of convergence, of participative, whatever you call that, So, and one of the students gave it the term DSY, and so design as well as design synectics noetics, where people come together. So it was wonderful, and by God's grace, we could get the NIFT Act passed.
Right. It was very interesting when you were mentioning that the edtech industry should not be geared towards becoming a unicorn because it's more like a camel. So tell our viewers and listeners about that as well.
So I told you I challenge popular paradigms, misconceptions, myths. So, it's a very commercially crowded space.
Right.
It's more hardware oriented, if you notice, because that's easy to get. So government also finds it easy to buy hardware because it's so difficult to get software.
Right.
And I always try to bridge the gaps, the last mile connectivity gaps, which government can't bridge. So whether it was in Himachal with Natural Springs or Yamuna Expressway Industrial Development Authority.
Right.
We try to bridge the last mile gaps.
Yeah.
And we are very hardware focused. So government buys all the hardware.
Right.
There are lots of NGOs, lots of dime a dozen. There are lots of commercial companies.
Sure.
There are lots of products in the market, tech products in the
Of
market.
course.
And everybody is in a hurry to acquire customers through right means or wrong. And, promising them the moon. How can you promise a moon to a kid without having invested your time? We were talking of hard work, we were talking of energy, we were talking of commitment, we were talking of passion, we were talking of dedication to make a difference.
Yeah.
Now, all these elements were missing here. Integrity,
So
all
true.
these, it was to make quick money, quick acquisition of unicorn, becoming a unicorn, getting
Investor
hedge funds,
pressure.
getting investor pressure. During this time, we are spending from our pension.
Right.
We stayed steadfast.
Yeah.
I'll only spend from my pension. I don't want any investor. Though it's
completely
very difficult.
bootstrapped then.
Bootstrapped till today.
Lovely.
And that's why we could volunteer to do things. So we refined our product. We went to Ladakh, was the first destination.
Yeah.
Went to Leh, went to Kargil, traveled to Leh, Kargil, talked to students, principals, teachers. What is it that we can do for you? What is it better than we can do for you?
Right.
Heard them, responded to it proactively, worked with Kendriya Vidyalaya Sangathan, Kendriya Vidyalayas in the northeast, remote locations in the north, remote locations again. So you refine your product for different challenges. You can't do that if we had investors breathing down our neck. We couldn't have done it.
No.
It is my money, it's my pension.
And at
It
your
was-
pace, right? Because
at my pace.
with your vision and
Yeah.
everything else. Because then it's not, and I tell people this all the time. So once you start picking up investor money, it's a responsibility, and they're looking for a return. And often it's a return at an uncomfortable pace. So what's also going to happen is that your vision is immaterial anymore. I think it's probably their vision and their direction, and that's what you're going to be following then.
Gaurav, very interestingly, you make a very interesting point. We started looking for investors of late. VCs, even angel investment.
Right.
Even angel investment.
Right.
And they said, Madam, 100 crore revenue कब होगा आपका? 10x return कब दे पाएंगी आप हमें? I think this country needs to change the paradigm. And what we are doing is establishing a proof of concept that EdTech can work, can give transformational results. Gaurav, I didn't know it is possible to give transformational results in remote and rural areas. I was just going on my hunch, as I always do, and on my conviction that what I can do with my experience, my passion, my pension, nobody else can do.
And you're seeing it firsthand. You mentioned Mirzapur, Sitapur. You're seeing there's success stories happening in rural India, which is the impact that you were looking to generate in the first place, right?
Absolutely. But still, it was surprising and amazing for me, thanks to Adani Foundation and HDFC Bank, which supported us in Mirzapur and Sitapur. It started only as recently as July 25.
Okay.
So July 25, we go to both these locations because I go there every quarter.
Right.
So I go there. So 24 principals are sitting around the table, about 12 males, 12 females. And my team makes a presentation. Oh, हमारा क्या platform है? हमारा बहुत versatile platform है, incidentally. So they made the presentation. They thought it was such a wonderful presentation that they made. And then the first principal says, हमारे यहाँ तो ICT lab चलता नहीं है, internet connection है नहीं, UPS होता नहीं है, हमारे पार तो होती ही नहीं है, और हम तो देखिए हमें तो ये आता ही नहीं है करना. बच्चों को मोबाइल तो कोई देगा ही नहीं कभी भी.
Right.
This is in July. Mind you, I have a champion additional chief secretary who has actually invited me there, and he knows that I'm investing my time, my money, my everything.
Of course.
And I'm doing it in UP because UP is my home state.
Correct.
And my Nana Nani had set up a school in a place called Talgram, 65
so
years
it's a give back then.
which is thriving today. So taking inspiration from that, I said, I must go to UP. So, we went to UP and at the invitation of this additional chief secretary, a brilliant officer. And he stayed committed on his conviction. So we go there and they say, and he said कि देखिए मैडम आप तो secondary में आइए, because secondary is the time when the kids are very serious about education, the parents are serious, the state government is serious, and secondary is also the time which is take off for livelihoods.
Right.
So you can merge secondary education and you take it up to livelihoods. So I said बिल्कुल ठीक है. और वो भी ज्यादा कॉम्प्लिकेटेड होता है बिकॉज प्राइमरी में कोई बहुत सब्जेक्ट्स नहीं होते, सेकेंडरी में बहुत सब्जेक्ट्स डेवलप होने लगते. तो हम लोग गए वहाँ, तो उन्होंने कहा कि सब ये तो हम लोग, ये तो कुछ पॉसिबल ही नहीं है, ये तो हो ही नहीं सकता, ये तो हम लोग, और हमारे पास दूसरे लोग भी पहले आए हैं मैडम बहुत सारे वहाँ. एक बहुत मेजर एनजीओ वाज आल्सो एसोसिएटेड. सो बोले बहुत लोग आए, हम लोग का हुआ नहीं और ना होगा हमारा, कांट डू. Okay, I come to the state government, come to Lucknow, and I tell the additional chief secretary कि भाई ये हमको feedback वहाँ पे. The district magistrate was also very supportive. Right. He said we'll find a way. Right. Because everybody who knows that I am spending my time, very few, again I am an unusual babu who spends the pension and the time for free. We are volunteering in these places. So I tell him that ये situation है. So he said, आप अपने पेंशन से इतनी मेहनत कर रही हैं, डोंट वरी, वील मीट यू मोर देन हाफ वे. एंड ही गिव सम इंस्ट्रक्शंस. We got the CSR funding. Why is CSR funding important? Because in these remote and rural locations, unless you have a local person sitting there, going there, meeting them, it doesn't work really. So we got the CSR support from July 25, and we go there again in October, end of October. कुछ महीने नहीं हुए हैं, अभी ऑनबोर्डिंग हुई है, बच्चों की आए. अच्छा, हम लोग बड़े डिफरेंट हैं. हम लोग क्या करते हैं, हम इंडिविजुअल स्टूडेंट को ऑनबोर्ड करते हैं, उसकी जर्नी ट्रैक करते हैं, उसको एक डैशबोर्ड देते हैं. लोग कहते हैं हमारे इतने लाख हो गए, 10 लाख हो गए, 20 लाख हो गए, कैसे होते हैं भाई? टीचर से कह दिया तुम बच्चों को डाल दो, ऐड कर दो, उनके पास नो ट्रेसेबिलिटी. अच्छा, मैं तो मैथ्स और स्टैट्स की स्टूडेंट हूँ, तो मैं अगर एविडेंस नहीं क्रिएट करूंगी तो कौन करेगा? मैंने बताया था आपको, एक मेरे बड़े इंटरेस्टिंग सेक्रेटरी होते थे, कहते थे गौरी तुम नहीं करोगी तो कौन करेगा? तो मैं अपने से यही पूछती हूँ, अगर मैं नहीं कर सकती तो कौन कर सकता है? Why can't I do it? Why can't I change the paradigm? So we are here challenging the conventional wisdom, the paradigms, the conventional paradigms कि गवर्नमेंट में तो कोई टीचर काम नहीं करना चाहती, वहाँ पे कुछ मैं कह रही थी ना, क्यों लोग नहीं तैयार होते हैं? अरे भाई, टीचर्स कोई करना नहीं चाहते, स्टेट गवर्नमेंट करना नहीं चाहती, डिस्ट्रिक्ट में कोई करना नहीं चाहता. मैं उस पैराडाइम को चेंज कर रही हूँ. मैं ये पैराडाइम चेंज कर रही हूँ कि पेरेंट्स, ग्रैंड पेरेंट्स कैसे बदल जाते हैं अगर उनको विश्वास बैठता है किसी प्रोडक्ट में. ये मुझे मिर्जापुर की स्टोरी ने सिखाया, मिर्जापुर सीतापुर की स्टोरी ने सिखाया. ऑफ कोर्स इट्स अनदर मैटर दैट वी लेटर गॉट IIM अहमदाबाद टू डू अ प्रॉपर स्टडी कि क्या हुआ, कैसे PPP मॉडल बन रहा है, कैसे हमारी चेंज मैनेजमेंट स्ट्रॉन्ग SOPs काम कर रही है. तो बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग जर्नी है ये गौरव. मतलब वहाँ टीचर्स मुझको कहती थी कि मैडम, एक हमारा फील्ड कोऑर्डिनेटर कहने लगा कि वो लोग कह रहे हैं कि होम साइंस ऐड कर दीजिए और ह्यूमैनिटीज ऐड कर दीजिए और कॉमर्स ऐड कर दीजिए सब्जेक्ट्स में 9th 10th 11th 12th में. तो आई वाज शॉक्ड. माय फर्स्ट रिएक्शन वाज स्टेम की हूँ मैं तो कि भाई हाउ कैन वी डू इट. मैं जब सेक्रेटरी लेबर थी और ITI भी होते थे तो मैं वीमेन उनमें आई वुड से कि ये वो मत लिखाई सिलाई के तुम देती हो, बुटीक देते हो, इसके बदले दूसरे कोर्सेज करो. तो बट आई रिस्पेक्ट ऑलवेज द व्यू फ्रॉम द फील्ड. तो मैंने कहा कि भाई ये लोग कह रहे हैं, और हमारे एक और हम लोग बहुत फर्क हैं. जो कमर्शियल, आई एम सेइंग इवन NGOs have products which are more static products. Sure. EdTech cannot be static. EdTech has to be dynamic to feedback. Now dynamic करने के लिए मैं तो अपनी पेंशन से पैसा खर्च करती हूँ, तो मेरी तो पूरी टीम बैक एंड पे रहती है, फ्रंट एंड पे रहती है, कंटेंट में रहती है. So we got the content in home science and humanities. And you'll be surprised, Gaurav. We did a survey. We are always very strong on data analytics. हर एक को हम स्टेट को डैशबोर्ड देते हैं और उनको रिपोर्ट भी भेजते हैं हर महीने. अब कैसे, मतलब स्टेट को भी भेजते हैं, डिस्ट्रिक्ट को भी भेजते हैं, डोनर को भी भेजते हैं, रिपोर्ट बराबर भेजते हैं, बहुत 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 इंसाइटफुल रिपोर्ट्स भेजते हैं। तो हमने कहा कि भाई जरा पता करो क्या बात क्या है, ये क्यों ये डिमांड आ रही है हमारे पास। तो हम लोगों ने एक सर्वे किया, तो पता चला कि हमारे कोहॉर्ट में 72% लड़कियां थी, 72%, और 78% उनमें से ह्यूमैनिटीज लेती हैं। अब आप सोचो कि अगर मैं इतनी इज्जत उनके व्यू की नहीं करती या मैं उनको सीरियसली नहीं लेती, क्यों हमारा एडॉप्शन 100% टीचर्स 90% के ऊपर बच्चों का है? वो इसलिए है क्योंकि हम रिस्पॉन्सिव डायनेमिक रहे। वो हमसे, हमारा फीडबैक टू एग्जीक्यूशन लूप इज अ वेरी शॉर्ट लूप.
Yeah, which is so important, right? Otherwise, they're a lost interest, and yeah, they will never come back to the program.
तो टीचर्स मुझे बेस्ट कॉम्प्लीमेंट क्या दिया, मैडम कैन आई हग यू. हम लोग जब गए तो वो लोग बोले, हमने कहा आप क्या बताइए, तो बोले बहुत मज़ा आ रहा है आपकी ऐप में. मैंने कहा कैसे मज़ा आ रहा है भाई, क्या हो गया? तो बोले नहीं बहुत आसान है. ये लेसन मैंने सीखा जब हम लोग एक ज़माने में विंडोज फॉर डमीज होता था.
बिल्कुल,
मेरे दिमाग में वो रजिस्टर किया हुआ था. बड़ी बिजी टीचर है ये. इस टीचर को तो समझो ना, इसकी ज़रूरत समझो. तुम एक प्रोडक्ट लाके इम्पोज कर रहे हो, विदेश से ले आए, कहीं से उठा के ले आए. तो वो बोली कि आपका कंटेंट बहुत कंटेक्चुअल है, रिलेटेबल है, इजी है. क्योंकि हमारा कंटेंट हम इंटर्न्स को लाते हैं, पूरा कंटेंट इन हाउस है. मुझे ये समझ में भी नहीं आया कोई और तरीका होता है कंटेंट बनाने का, तो मेरा पूरा कंटेंट इन हाउस है. ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस लाइक सेंट्रल स्क्वायर फाउंडेशन, उन्होंने अपना बनाया हुआ था. दे गिव इट, दे लुक्ड एट आवर प्लेटफॉर्म एंड दे गिव इट टू अस. उन्होंने पूरे एक ड्राइव लिंक में अपलोड करके हमको भेज दिया कि आप कर लीजिए, यूज करिए इसको.
Ashish is a great guy. In fact, Ashish was on this podcast I think 2 months ago.
Really?
So, yeah,
oh, he's a
doing
great
some-
chap.
he's doing some
Great
work.
chap.
Yeah,
Great
yeah,
chap.
yeah.
मतलब वो he is an institution builder. He is a visionary and he executes his vision through systems and processes. You know, हम लोग क्यों different हैं? I mean, you asked me why I am different. I'm saying हमने कैसे re-engineer किया है EdTech को
Right.
to make rapid change in users. उनके उनका लर्निंग, मतलब हम लोग वो बताने लगे कि मैडम हमारे यहाँ तो टीचर्स कहती थी कि हमारे यहाँ तो इतने रिमोट हैं हम, हमारे यहाँ कोई नहीं आता मैडम, हमारे यहाँ चाय की दुकान भी नहीं है. और जब आपका कोऑर्डिनेटर आता है ना तो उत्सव हो जाता है. तो बहुत से लोग कहने लगे, अभी भी पूछते हैं मुझसे बहुत से लोग, अरे वो तो नहीं मिलेगा, पेरेंट्स के पास वो तो नहीं होता है, मोबाइल तो नहीं देते हैं बच्चों को. हाँ, तो मैंने कहा कि क्या हो गया, पेरेंट्स कैसे देने लगे मोबाइल? तो क्या बोलते हैं वो लोग, मैडम क्या हो गया है ना, टीचर को बड़ा मज़ा आता है आपकी ऐप पे, 30 सेकंड में वो असाइनमेंट दे सकती है. क्योंकि हमने उसको सुना, उसने कहा क्लास बिठाल दो, हमने क्लास बिठाल दिया वहाँ. 30
इस
सेकंड
हद तक इंस्ट्रक्शन दी जा रही है उसके
इतनी
ऊपर.
हद तक आसान बना दिया टीचर के लिए. टीचर मतलब टीचर हमको एलआई देखने लगे गौरव. जब तक टीचर हमें एलआई नहीं देख रहा, हाँ हम क्या बात कर रहे हैं, हमको टीचर देख रहा है, एक और ऐप आ गई, इम्पोज हो गया, ओहो हो परेशान हो गए. यहाँ क्या हमने सेंटिमेंट चेंज किया, हमने कहा टीचर हैज टू बी द एलआई. अब अगर टीचर एलआई हो गया तो क्या बताने लगे लोग, बोले मैडम अगर कोई पेरेंट नहीं करता है ना तो उसको फ़ोन करके कहती है कि भाई मैंने उस पर होमवर्क दिया है, उसको दे दो. तो मैंने कहा मगर एक ही फ़ोन होता है, कैसे करते हैं? तो बोले मैडम वो रात को ना, जब दिहाड़ी मजदूर रात को पहुंचते हैं घर, तब वो देते हैं मोबाइल, तब बच्चा होमवर्क करता है घर से. और क्योंकि मोबाइल ऐप है, लोग कहते हैं मोबाइल ऐप का क्या फ़ायदा, हमारी मोबाइल भी है, हमारी उस पर वेब पे भी है. स्कूल में वो करते हैं अपने आईसीटी लैब में बैठ के, टीचर कई जगह स्मार्ट बोर्ड्स भी हैं तो टीचर उसमें वीडियो दिखाती हैं. और उसी वक्त वीडियो बच्चे पहले देखते नहीं थे ध्यान से, एंजॉयमेंट के लिए. अब क्यों ध्यान से देखते हैं, वो कहते हैं देखो अभी तो वीडियो देख रहे हो, फौरन तुम्हें असाइनमेंट घर पहुंच जाएगा. और मैं बिल्कुल हार्वर्ड का मॉडल करती हूँ. हार्वर्ड में हमको सारा कोर्स मटेरियल उस मॉड्यूल के साथ में मिल जाता था. तो द मोमेंट द टीचर गिव्स द असाइनमेंट, उसमें हमारे में वीडियोस हैं, एमसीक्यूज हैं, हमारे में क्लास नोट्स हैं, और हमारे क्योंकि इंटर्न्स हैं उन्होंने रिवीजन नोट्स, उसको चीट शीट्स बोलती हैं, वो चीट शीट्स भी हैं.
Amazing.
हर ग्रेड के, हर सब्जेक्ट के, हर चैप्टर 15-20 चैप्टर्स है. मतलब यू कैन इमेजिन बहुत बहुत ज़्यादा लंबा. सबको हमने हिंदी में कर दिया. वो लोग बोले हिंदी में ऐप कर दिए, हिंदी में ऐप कर दिए. अब हम लोग उड़ीसा जाने की सोच रहे हैं, बिकॉज उड़ीसा में मुझे लग रहा है कि कुछ चैंपियन ऑफिसर्स हैं. वी नीड चैंपियन ऑफिसर्स टू बी प्रेजेंट देयर.
I think that's a very valuable lesson. And in fact, I mean, one is, of course, even when working with the government, but even as a private organization, to just, once you get everyone's ownership to come in and everyone's buy-in to come in, then it doesn't matter who gets transferred and what happens and what happens in terms of leadership. It'll just continue. It's a movement, like you mentioned, a revolution that comes into place.
Right. And ethic requires to become a revolution.
It has to be. It's a game of patience. Hence, you said a camel, right?
Patience, like a camel.
So the app is called Scholar's Planet?
Scholar Planet.
Okay, lovely. So in case you're listening in and you're a VC and, or an angel, not a VC, an angel, and you're interested in taking this conversation forward, reach out, and happy to make the inductions to Gauri ma'am. And of course, I think there's something really disruptive being done there, and it deserves, all the attention, monetary as well, to make things happen. So great chat so far, and let's go ahead and have a bit of a rapid fire. So, one word, one sentence, whatever comes, to your mind. So one decision that defined your career.
Going to Harvard.
A belief you held early in life that you've changed today.
I haven't really changed much.
Okay, held on to a lot of your early beliefs.
God's grace that I could hold on to my beliefs and my value system.
Right. Of course, you have many boards today. So tougher to manage bureaucracy or manage boards?
Good question. Bureaucracy is tougher.
Okay. One trait that every great administrator must have.
Integrity.
Of course.
Integrity. And power to convert vision into reality execution.
Goes without saying. Love that. Are we too slow as a nation generally when it comes to execution?
Yeah, last mile execution is not the best. We are picking up very, very well with transport. We are picking up well with digitization. Right. But it's a last mile where we are weak, and where I feel the collaborative governance model needs to work. The NGOs and the corporate sector needs to pitch in there in a more focused way, whether it's CSR or it's the corporates themselves.
Right. Love that. One policy that India should look at fixing sooner rather than later.
Rural development, our approach to rural development needs to change. Farmers, we need to look at return on investment for them. Don't treat them as beneficiaries, treat them as entrepreneurs. If you do that, I think we would have an agrarian economy would pick up.
So interesting. And just last week we had Satyajit Henge come in, and Satyajit runs a company called Two Brothers Organic Farms. So doing a lot of, organic farming outside Pune, 150 kms outside Pune. And he's like, the amount of education that they're doing and the number of farmers they brought on board. So I think almost 5,000 farmers are now actively engaged with them in organic farming and, just that ecosystem. And he says so much needs to be done.
We haven't treated them as entrepreneurs.
And this guy is an amazing entrepreneur. Like now he has all the, VC funds and everyone's running after him.
Well, after your podcast. I hope after your podcast.
Yes, maybe the same should happen, over here as well.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about, certain other things. What's the biggest myth about government officers that people have?
That they don't want to do anything. They have no vision. That they're corrupt. Some of it sometimes may be true, but my experience outside of government is even more impressive. And within government, I believe that's a leadership which lacks. If you have the right leader, the teams come together. The same officers start delivering. Ministry of Labour was a sleepy ministry. People used to tell me. And then it became a vibrant ministry. And in UP, I find the way the government teachers, government principals, if they find a good thing, they're willing to adopt it because it empowers them.
So true. What is India's biggest strength right now?
It's energy, it's creativity, the pace of transformation in certain things that we have brought in.
Right. Okay, so interestingly, another gentleman on the podcast a few months ago said, China rolls out the red carpet. Okay, India rolls out the red tape. All right. Your thoughts on that?
I think it's changing very much because, many things are done at the state level. So there's a certain level of competition. We used to do, ease of doing business, relative ranking of states. I would say some states are really picking up.
Yeah.
And, again, we'll say, they were camels earlier. They are wanting to become unicorn. So I wish more states will become unicorns. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So you're seeing a lot of changes happening on that side as well. One thing about the IAS system that you would completely change given a choice.
The recruitment process, the exam that we take, the interviews that we do.
So this one, of course, because now you've been on, both sides of, the table. So IAS or entrepreneurship, what's been more challenging?
Oh, clearly entrepreneurship.
One skill that's helped you succeed across roles in your life.
Humility.
So important.
Willingness to listen to others. Willingness to give importance to others. Willingness to give credit to team. Willingness to be a giver, not a taker. If you're known as a giver, tab karma banta hai.
Was there a moment where you almost gave up?
As an edtech entrepreneur, finding angel investors, finding... so how do you sustain from pension? How long can you sustain for pension?
Yeah.
And as I said, it's a camel. People have to appreciate that it's a camel. It's not a 10x multiplier. It's not sabun tail which can be sold across. You have to get people to adopt it.
Right.
I think the edtech paradigm which we've set in the country isn't the best. The private sector is wary of it. They adopt edtech for the sake of edtech. But they have not understood the power of edtech because they've got the unicorn kind of edtech.
Right. It's the wrong reasons, for many. I think, as you said, it's a game of patience. You have to have some believers who'll say, we believe in you. We believe in the vision, the mission, the product. And, here's the money. Deliver impact. The rest will come. Okay, a few more questions. AI in education, because of course, AI is the talk everywhere today. So overhyped or underutilized?
Depends on how we look at AI. If we talk of AI enabled or AI enhanced,
right.
AI is a tool which enhances the quality of education.
Agreed.
It helps you reach greater numbers. Technology helps you reach greater number. So if you look at AI as a tool, it's a great tool. It's a great tool. And it's not going to replace any teachers because AI, unless it has it's combined with human intelligence and human presence. And, a lot of people say schools will become irrelevant. That's absurd because schools are much more than just, learning.
Right.
So we use AI to enhance our product.
Right.
We are very strongly AI enhanced. So I really believe in AI, but as a tool, not to replace edtech.
Oh, for sure. And you're right. It's completely an amplifier. I think it just amplifies, your abilities and just everything. So yes, 100% agree. One problem in education that no one is solving properly.
There's so much of teacher shortage. There is so much of STEM shortage. We are trying to make up with our product. So teachers say that even if I'm not a subject teacher, I have to take a subject, and your app helps me to do that more effectively than I would have done without it.
Correct.
But I would say I think that is something which, as a country, we need to address.
So true. India's education system. Do you think it's preparing leaders or just exam takers?
JEE wants ready engineers, not future engineers, potential engineers. UPSC exam is also, it's good. But if people are getting to the interview stage in the 5th trial, there's something amiss with the system. So what is it that kids are studying for? They're studying to get into universities, so QET, which is still MCQ.
Right.
And I like MCQs.
Right.
Our platform really helps you perfect the MCQ in your own time. The moment you go into JEE, you are... Why is the coaching industry thriving? It's thriving because the exam is not designed for a thinker.
Agreed.
You see, you have to think on the spot.
Yeah.
I think what we used to do in Harvard is that they would say, there would be a class. I was also taking classes at business school, and they would have a case study.
Yeah.
And they just point the finger, say you. And you had to get up and talk about it. then you think independently. That's what you do in your rapid fire.
Right,
That
right.
whatever comes top of your mind.
Right.
Now, but if your top of your mind is blank, it's blank.
That's true. That's true. Do you think tech will replace teachers? Yes or no?
Never.
No.
Never. I think tech should enable and empower teachers. That should be the role it should perceive itself as, not replacing a teacher and saying, I'll become a teacher. I think that's wrong.
Yeah. As a country, do you think we're doing enough for India's workforce, or are we just talking about it?
I'm also part of Vay Vikas, which is for the elderly. There are already 15% are elderly.
Yeah.
How are we leveraging the elderly to help those who are youngsters, who can? So we are not just doing enough because we are not. The system itself has become such that has become an impediment in being able to get people into the workforce. Because if you have only learnt a skill, okay, I only know plumbing.
Right.
What did we do in NIFT? In NIFT, we introduced a foundation program which prepares you for understanding the system, the ecosystem.
Right.
Now, here, if you're entering and finishing as a designer, which it was earlier,
You're just a designer.
you just can't. You can't adapt yourself
Right.
to change in situations.
Yeah.
Today, the workforce has to be agile. It has to be motivated. It has to be hardworking. Those are the traits which we need to really imbibe in them, so that if there is a disruption, you can cope with it. Today, we are not preparing the workforce for disruption. We are not preparing them to multitask. They should be multitask.
Yeah, yeah. In fact, it's discouraged. Multitasking is frowned upon. So, which I don't get. I mean, I could multitask all the time. Okay, what about one startup idea that India needs right now?
How to make startups survive.
All right. So, last couple of questions. If you had absolute power for 1 year, what's the first thing that you would fix?
Education, health.
And if not the IAS, what do you think you would have been?
So, entrepreneur.
Thank you for that. I think those lovely, replies to the rapid fire. Went a little longer, but I think there was super insights, from your perspective. Let's talk about, as we move towards wrapping up, let's talk about, and of course, today we're in the second week of April. There's a very fragile, ceasefire in place, globally. And I bring this up from the perspective of, fertilizers, for example. Now, that's something that, is such an integral, need towards, India's, agriculture, food security. And we're in a situation where, people are like, I don't know, what's going to happen on crude, what's going to happen on fertilizer inputs. What are your thoughts with, the Strait of Hormuz and what's going on? And what do you think about food security for the country on that front?
Yeah. The disruptions have not impacted India as much as they have impacted some other countries. We have enough reserves and enough ability to cope. Right. For some time. One may go on longer, but at this time it has not impacted us, affected. And fortuitously, some reserves had also come, some shipments had come earlier. My perspective is that if we took it in the right spirit, like what happened with COVID enabled us into a digital economy.
Right.
COVID helped us to do online meetings. We saved so much of time and money and saved the environment in many ways. So I'm very hopeful that this war will help us to focus on self-sufficiency, number one, and it will help us to focus on efficiency of inputs.
Right.
It will help us to focus on NPK. There's a company that I'm on the board of, and there we are doing this Kisan Seva Kendra type of thing, single window. And we are looking at return on investment for farmer. I'm very hopeful that we will not let this disaster turn into an opportunity for us by focusing on input efficiency, by focusing on what is good where, or do we just keep on blindly keep putting things?
Almost like when you mentioned 1991, when we had our back towards, the wall, the only way is forward, right? So I'm sure we'll, always innovate. And I think the Prime Minister already came in Parliament and just told everyone that start thinking out of the box, just, be ready when, things will come. And I'm sure, like you said, we're going to come through it for sure. And who knows, like you said, might even lead to a revolution in a different, domain or an area as well, which is pending. But of course, in your journey of, as an entrepreneur, I think then now you're going to have to flip hats and, just flip the switch and basically now be someone who is, because you are such, a brilliant speaker. And I heard you on stage and I'm like, okay, like Gauri ma'am is someone I have to have on the podcast. I mean, you had everyone mesmerized, for the 20-25 minutes that you actually spoke. And I think that, yes, while you've been perhaps, kind of pushing yourself back and letting your team do a lot of, taking in the limelight and more. I think now as an entrepreneur, you're probably going to have to, come more on stages, on podcasts. I mean, this is your first appearance on a podcast, and I think it's been like phenomenal.
Yeah.
And I think more that needs to happen because the world really needs to know more about what you're trying to achieve across all your, ventures. I mean, you have education, you have senior living, and this is just noble things that the world needs to know more of.
Yes, Gaurav, that's a tricky part that I have to learn these skills. I recognize that that self-effacing has got into me. Public good has got into me. Not being commercial, most important. I'm not commercially oriented. If I was commercially oriented, I would come more. I'm a passionate speaker. I'm passionate about many causes.
Right.
Commercial consideration is not one of those. Coming in the limelight for those is not. So I've been self-effacing. Even on LinkedIn, I'm just on LinkedIn. That too, I came less than a year back.
Wow.
Very reluctantly, when my team pushed me, they said, you need to get there.
Correct.
So yeah.
Yeah. Because I just think that, I mean, you're doing such great work. And I think the world, needs to know more about that. Because also one of my coaches told me many, many years ago, he says, you can be the best, but if you're not the best known, it doesn't matter. So, building that brand is
I remember
important.
your coach's advice. Yeah.
So in conclusion, let's talk about, the difficulties that one would face as an honest IAS officer or any, civil servant, for that matter. So would love to have your take on that.
An honest officer doesn't have a problem. He can be honest and may not do anything. If you don't do anything, you are safe. But if you are honest and performing,
right,
you are a great threat to the vested interests.
Right.
So, it is very challenging personally and for the family. When you are an honest officer and doing things which are long overdue, for example, universal account number, NIPFO, it was a long, it's a 52 Act. There was no business for subscribers not to have access to their accounts. I would say it's a failure of the system. But then over time, you have developed vested interests or anywhere else, unfortunately.
And UAN, when you mentioned that, so it was almost 60 years in the making before it became an act, again, under your watch. And prior to UAN, so if someone had a PPF account and every time they would change a job, a new account had to be opened. And what happened is under the UAN, everything is then consolidated, right? So, I mean, landmark reform, but it took 60 plus years to find light of day.
Yeah, actually what used to happen is that subscribers didn't have access. They didn't know whether money was deposited, not deposited. Right. So employer may deduct money and his matching contribution, which would never go into that account of the subscriber.
Crazy.
And then, very interesting, when you move job, so it was against your moving job. It assumed that you will stay in one job. If you move job, to withdraw that money was so difficult. So as a consequence, we were sitting on 30,000 lakh crores, 30,000 crores or something of suspense account funds. If you recall, during COVID, those funds were leveraged, were used. Yeah. And the number, which was at that time 4.25 crore of subscribers, has grown to 7.5 crores, only because we opened the lock.
And the transparency is there.
And the transparency and accountability. So unless the system is transparent and accountable, it is not scalable to my mind. It becomes scalable only when it is digitally enabled and made transparent. Yeah. And nobody wants to do it, frankly.
Yeah. Like I said, you've had an illustrious career where so much has been covered, and I'm sure in this 1 hour or a little over an hour, we've only been able to scratch the surface. But it was lovely having you on Let's Chat with GB, and really a pleasure. And I hope we can keep meeting and supporting some of your causes as well, and of course making some introductions to our network also.
Thank you, Gaurav. It was great actually talking to you. This is my maiden podcast, but it was indeed a pleasure and a privilege.
You absolutely
and I mean
crushed
it.
it. So thank you so very much. And of course, we have some souvenirs that we'd like to give you as well from the podcast. So I know you do need to, or you do like to write some notes and things. So here is a pen again from not a NIFT designer, but Shantanu and Nikhil, who are also designers, and so they created. A very nice pen, which I thought
see.
that you should
I see. Let
have,
me take this out. Yeah,
well.
a beautiful pen. Yeah.
And of course, while the gentlemen who come on the podcast, we have a tie and cufflinks, but here we have a Shantanu Nikhil scarf. So something that you might like to wear and use when you're actually on your outings. And we also have the Let's Chat with GB souvenir mug. So just something to remind you that you are on the podcast. So that's something for you as well. And of course,
I think being on the podcast was itself such a rewarding experience. I must tell you, Gaurav, you got out of me many things. I think basically because I talked of some of those there, you knew some of those backgrounds. But you got out such a lot.
Thank you. Like I said, for sharing. And the last thing is, these are the podcast cards that we created. So of course, in due course, there'll be one with your card on it as well. So all the people who've been on the podcast on Let's Chat with GB so far. So we've created, all these cards. And, if you like our episode, you like what they said, you'll have key takeaways, key moments, scan a QR, you jump in and you can watch the episode as well. So in due course, we'll have one for this episode too. But just another something for you to take away from here as well.
Oh, great. So this is a who's who. No, it was fun talking to you. You made it fun for me.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing.
So really enjoyed.